Tesla truck. This is real time. Okay. Okay. So that's the Tesla Semi will go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. So that's by itself or with a trailer. Now, at 80,000 pounds max gross vehicle weight, that's the most amount of weight you can carry on a U.S. highway. This is the real-time acceleration of a Tesla Semi. That, on the left, the thing that looks like it's not moving is a diesel truck. Just gonna give it a moment. I'm sorry to bore you. I apologize. It's boring. I know. Eventually it'll get there. All right. Even with 80,000 pounds pulling max gross, getting 60 miles an hour in 20 seconds. That's what it can do. Now, what about up a hill? Okay. The best diesel trucks can only do 45 miles an hour up a 5% grade. Tesla Semi can do 65 miles an hour up to 5% grade.
With the new video that Elon has put out of the Semi doing laps of the Fremont factory track, we were getting elated about the possibility that the Tesla Semi is almost here. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters as well as our subscribers. If you enjoy this show, please take time to like and subscribe. If you'd like some helpful hints on trading ideas and process with Tesla and other on-the-move stocks, we also provide that and think you'll find the information provided helpful in understanding what's going on. At any rate, today we wanted to take a look at the Tesla Semi. As you know, there's actually a video that was just released by Tesla/Elon showing the Semi doing laps around the on-campus Fremont track. Now, this looked really promising when we looked at it, and I'd have to say another title for this show might be Premature Semi-Elation. And there's a number of reasons why we say this. First of all, this was the first time since the initial day that there's been an official video put out with the Semi in action. Most of the videos we've been seeing over the last 3 or 4 years have been the Semi in test circumstances in different places around the country, and even rolling in for cold weather tests into Canada/Alaska. So the question mark was, and is, what's going on with the Semi, and how come we actually haven't seen a factory built for it and signs that it's about to be delivered? And so that's what we're focusing on today. So another note we should make here is that for us, the Semi is the most exciting vehicle that's available in Tesla's sort of arsenal of products that are to come out. How soon that is, we'll be discussing that today. And so we've been kind of focused on this vehicle in particular. As you can see, we have a scale replica. I actually don't think Tesla makes any other scale replicas for any of its other vehicles. They do have kind of a toy Model S that you can drive around. But in essence, there's a recognition by Elon and company that this is a very important product. We kind of got into this sort of, I want to say, Semi from Tesla love for a number of reasons. The biggest reason is what Elon pointed out during his introduction session, when he pointed out that you have to note that the Semi-type vehicles represent 25% of the pollution, but represent a very small percentage of the vehicles on the road. And so he indicated that part of the reason there was a focus to get something built by Tesla was this very fact that the impact of pollution from these trucks is so great that it would really change everything about the future for this vehicle to be put out and for it to work. So we've been sort of on the edge of our seats. We bought the scale model. We've been at the edge of our seats waiting for when this would occur. We each year, somewhat around this time, Elon will make an announcement regarding the fact that something has come up and the vehicle will be delayed for another year. And so we've sort of heard that numerous times. And after he came out middle of last year and said, let's go full speed on the Semi, I actually thought what that meant was we were about to see the Semi sort of enter production as he had said, and therefore start rolling. So we actually did a show pointing out that it's a good idea that we want the Semi produced, but there's a problem, which is there's actually no factory for it yet. So it's kind of hard to produce if you actually don't have the factory. And based on how Tesla's buying batteries, there's kind of a battery shortage, knowing that it takes between 3 and 5 packs from a regular car to be able to fuel a Semi. And so if you're running low on batteries, it's kind of hard to see how that's really going to work out either. So what then happened was this video came out, and there's some strange things about the Semi. For example, Elon often points out that the Semi operates more like a race car than it does a real truck. And so on numerous occasions, he's been seen driving it around, and you really get the sense that, yeah, it's exciting to see how fast electric can get a vehicle, even of this size, to move. And it's fun to watch, but not many trucking companies that have to move freight are actually discussing its 0 to 60 time as a primary focus. So what then happened is that after seeing this video, I was like, wow, it's really nice to see the Semi again. It's really nice to see the video coming out from Elon and company, but it seemed kind of nuts because there's another problem here, which is if you look at all the videos that have been put out by Tesla on the Semi, there's a very strange phenomenon happening. Either one, we see the Semi moving around the track by itself without towing anything, which we saw in this video, and I'm including it. But if you go through the pictures of the Semi, there's something actually very strange happening, which is every day, at least 100, probably 500 runs of trucks happens at the Fremont plant, moving cars at 10 at a time numbers to a variety of destinations, be it to the railhead, to the port for shipping, or even directly to one of the delivery centers throughout California or near in to the West Coast. And in every one of these cases, what you'll notice is those diesel trucks are actually hauling a large number of cars, namely usually 10 if they're full, but possibly a few less than that. And one of the strange things is if you go back through all the video of the Semi over the last 4 or 5 years, what you'll notice is at no point does the Semi actually tow a full 10-car load of anything, including Tesla vehicles, away. So this prompted us to start scratching our head and say, well, wait a second here. Why isn't the Semi towing a full load? And so one of the things that I wanted to encourage you to do with this video, be it with what I'm going to play now, as you can see it, or if you want to watch it again online, notice that when the Semi goes by, the sound of the tires hitting the road. What you'll notice is, so I lived in California for a long time near Stanford University. And one of the sort of fun facts about Silicon Valley is if you're ever in the valley, there's a freeway called 280. And what was interesting about 280 is that it ended up being kind of the drag strip, so people would make a lot of money in technology, and then they would try to go out. I actually have friends, and I've been out there 130 miles an hour, but I've had friends doing 180, 190 in very souped up BMWs and other cars. So what was interesting is that there's this phenomenon where you have a freeway that snakes through some mountains. And what actually happens is the police get so good at catching people speeding that they can listen to the cars crossing over the dots that separate the lanes. And they can tell how fast the car is going without using radar or without having to see the car. So they can sit behind one of the mountains and just listen to the noise of the echo, and they know how fast the car is going. So in this case, take a look at the semi and notice that when the vehicle goes by, the sound of the tires on the road is really, really, really heavy, meaning that as it comes and goes by you, you can really hear the amount of weight in the form of batteries that this thing is carrying. And that's the challenge, is that the vehicle is extremely heavy right now. So I wanted to bring this up because I believe that the salvation of this truck is actually going to be the new 4680 battery. Now, Elon has discussed the fact that by incorporating the battery into the frame, you now are able to eliminate frame, save money, but you also are able to eliminate weight because of how the battery is playing into this. Now, some people, we have a technical advisor that's saying he doesn't think that's going to work, but I'm not, until Elon says it ain't working, I'm believing him. But the issue that's going on right now is that when you look at the back of the truck, you'll notice, and we'll include some photos here, that in most cases that the semi is seen with cars, it's maybe one Tesla vehicle or max 4 or possibly 5, but more 4, and they built a special trailer to allow them to deliver those 4 vehicles. So the numbers aren't exact that I'm presenting, but the way you could consider it is the fact that each car weighs about 5,000 pounds. That's plus or minus, I guess, 1,000 pounds, depending on if it's a Model X or if it's a Model 3. And so what we then look at is that you're always seeing 4 of those cars or less sitting on the back of these trucks that the semi is towing. So what this tells us is that you start out with the fact that the max allowed on the U.S. roadways, particularly federal highways, is actually 80,000 pounds. And so what we're seeing then is add the trailer with 4 cars, and in theory, the semi sort of front, as you see here, along with the cars and the trailer, cannot exceed 80,000 pounds. Now, I was told by one trucker that we encountered early in our show that there are exemptions that you can get that allow you to bring that up to 100,000 pounds, but I digress because that's sort of the end of our show in terms of how this might be addressed. So what this then means is that we're in a tough position right now because we really want this vehicle to hit the road in large numbers as soon as possible, but there seems to be a weight problem. And so all of our interest and rootingness and energy to see the semi appear seems to be getting sort of wiped out by the fact that if your tow weight is only 20,000 pounds worth of cars, maybe a little bit less because you have to consider the truck, that's not enough weight to actually make it cost effective for anybody to move freight behind one of these trucks or one of these trailers, tractors, shall we say. So what this then means is kind of interesting, is it kind of answers a bunch of questions. Like, for example, why is it that the Cybertruck sort of came out after the semi, was introduced 2 years after the semi, but it's actually getting a factory before the semi is getting a factory? So this sort of illustrates the point that, wait a second, there's a reason why the semi is delayed, and Elon/Tesla is not admitting what that is. But in essence, that's the challenge. If the vehicle can only tow under 20,000 pounds, there's no cost-effective way for folks to go ahead and buy that, because, as you know, 10 cars, 50,000 pounds ish is what the usual diesel truck actually tows. And that vehicle is $150,000. So in essence, you'd have to buy two $200,000 Tesla trucks to carry less than what one, or spend $400,000 to get what one diesel truck can currently move and does currently move by Tesla. So as we see more of the truck and what's going on, I'm really hopeful that this can be figured out. I think that the 4680 presents a lot of elements to it that would allow this to be the solution. But unfortunately, I really think where we are now is that soon, sometime before May, Elon is likely to announce that the truck is delayed again. And I think that what we're in the zone of right now is that they have to figure out how to finish up the new battery and then redo the frame for the truck to include that new battery structure, so that, if we could get 10, maybe 20,000 pound discount in weight, that would probably do it, because now you're at, a 40,000 pound vehicle carrying 40,000 in freight. It's not the 50 that the diesel trucks will carry, but it's, I think, good enough that there are a lot of entities that would be comfortable working with that amount of freight weight movement. So, there's a lot of other things you could consider. For example, a permanent exemption, because California wants electric vehicles. In theory, they could give Elon a 20,000 pound exemption to get up to 100,000 per truck, or all, and from Tesla and from other manufacturers that are doing electric, to help address the battery weight problem. This still leaves you with, again, we're now at 80,000 plus 20, and the truck is in the 55 to 60,000 pound zone. So now we have a situation where a lot of trucking companies could say, hey, 40,000 pounds is insufficient, but if we're getting exemption from the state for those vehicles that are heavier to run because they want electricity powering trucks in California, I think that, that narrative actually works. This is also interesting because I kept wondering why the semi was actually being delayed so long. And one of the things that actually pops up is the fact that a lot of the state entities, or large, global entities trying to reduce emissions, do not want to go the route of hydrogen. But the challenge is that hydrogen actually works on the roads successfully, even though it's not the best choice, not what everybody wants to do. The preference is, in fact, electric. But this battery issue of weight really hampers this whole thing working. The one other suggestion I would make, frankly, is that Elon wants to put a full complement of packs there to give optimal range. And I really don't know if that's a requirement. And the reason is that one of the biggest buyers of this is Walmart. So in theory, you could use the solar panels on top of a Walmart to feed a battery, and then have the truck pull up and use a half-hour unloading time to sort of recharge that vehicle. So in theory, you could run a fairly small pack, maybe two and a half of the current packs, so you could cut that weight, and now you can carry that to grocery store on a shorter run without having to rely on at least going 200 to 300 miles. So I just think that it'd be nice to see this vehicle come out. I think it's now obvious why there's this delay, but based on what's been going on, it doesn't seem like this delay will change at all. And so that's why we're hopeful that there'll be a change in sort of management process in terms of what's going to happen. So again, I was elated to see the new video of the truck operating, and I think it's really unfortunate where we are currently. But I have to say that it's better than having nothing, one. But number two, we're really sort of jazzed about the fact that there are other things that are going to happen. For example, people buying the Cybertruck and putting 14,000 pounds worth of hauling behind it would allow you to carry things like potato chips or other things on an electric basis within California. So I think there are ways you can stopgap your way to the semi. So I think this is rough news for us because we're really looking forward to this vehicle. There's a lot of European rules about how semis should be operating that are based on the semi coming out. And the fact that it's not here sort of slows down the move that we'd like to get to. We may or may not do a complete show on this, but there's an announcement that was just made that if in fact the number of electric vehicles that are being sold right now continues by 2023, we'll be seeing 2 million gallons of fuel per day that will be not sold because of the impact of electric vehicles. So I think it's also an exciting development to see some of the government penalties and other things starting to affect fuel consumption and therefore potentially reducing the overall cost of gasoline and the amount it's used. So as usual, I just want to remind you that we really appreciate constructive criticism. We have a lot of bright people that watch our show, and you're one of them, and we'd love to see comments that reflect that intelligence. No need for attacks on moi. The next thing we want to do is encourage you to like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. We also want to remind you of our usual health tips. Don't forget your 25 leg lifts per leg on a daily basis to prevent knee issues. Also wanted to encourage you to consider the 2-5 or one of the other fasting diets. Also wanted to encourage you to consider a very small salad if you're going to do lovemaking, because blood flow to the stomach in consuming a large meal is not available for other parts of the body. We also want to encourage you to consider not going to bed within 4 hours of eating, minimum 2 hours to let the food digest. This reduces the chance of acid reflux or even possibly cancer in the upper respiratory area. We also wanted to encourage you to consider trying to go to bed and wake up at the same time for a couple of weeks without an alarm clock, because it allows your body to get into what's called a circadian rhythm. That's a lot healthier way to sort of move through life and your day. And then finally, we always talk about a 30 SPF or better, and no more than once a week fried foods is highly encouraged by our kidney doc advisor. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. I just want to say, Semi, we love you. We're looking forward to your arrival sooner than later. And in Germany, we say tschüss and au revoir in French, le hitro, Hebrew, choda hafez, Farsi, zdravstvuyte, Russian, ni hao ma, Chinese, konbanwa, Japanese, heido, Swedish, zdravstvuyte, Russian, good day, our friends in Australia. And in Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk woodman. Namaste, Hindi. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. And please remember to like and subscribe. And we look forward to your constructive comments.